Hey everybody, and welcome to the Chainsaw Reacts podcast, episode 22. Today, guys, the podcast, we are covering two major panels that have happened so far at San Diego Comic-Con 2015, and those two panels are Star Wars The Force Awakens panel, and then we're going to be covering the Warner Brothers DC panel. Mainly, we're going to focus on the Batman v Superman and the Suicide Squad panels. Essentially, we're not going to talk about Pan or Man of Uncle here on the podcast. We're going to start off with Star Wars The Force Awakens. So if you want to skip to the Batman v Superman Suicide Squad portion of the podcast, a time start in the description to that next segment, so you'll be able to tell which panel and what time I'm talking about it and all that kind of stuff. So anyways, let's get into the first topic, which is the Star Wars The Force Awakens panel. Now, what I really liked about this panel is that they slowly brought out cast members for this panel. They didn't just up and go, okay, well, here's the director, here is Kathleen Kennedy, here is the new cast, here's the old cast. They slowly brought out different people that are a part of this movie, old and new cast, and basically gave them some time to kind of talk about their characters, talk about what their involvement that they can actually give away in this movie and all that kind of stuff without going into spoiler territory and kind of ruining the surprises of these different characters. So it was very cool to see that, because they could have easily, like I said, just brought out everybody and it kind of be just one big mess up where you really just are kind of confused because they're going back and forth between all these different characters. I mean, they just kept bringing them out slowly, every so often they brought out other people. So excuse me. And that was very, very good about that panel, because that's a right way to kind of do it with a big ensemble of a cast they have for this movie, and they have so many characters to kind of introduce and so many characters to basically bring back after so long from not being a part of any Star Wars movie. So that was very, very cool there. One of the things I do want to talk about before we get to the actual behind-the-scenes footage, the Comic-Con reel, as it's called on YouTube, and how they released it. One cool thing is that they talked a lot about the animatronics and basically the things they built for this movie, because, as we all know, the prequels, the Episode 1, 2, and 3, that were made and released back in the early 2000s by George Lucas, was heavily CGI, and a lot of people have issues with it because the original Star Wars movies, as we all know, the original Star Wars trilogy is mainly animatronics, because there was no CGI back then. They had to find creative ways to make it look authentic and make it look like this is actually happening, and it doesn't look fake and it doesn't look like it's poorly done. They really did a fantastic job with those original trilogy films. So what really brings me to thinking that this is going to be a return to the magic of Star Wars is that J.J. Abrams has said multiple times, and once again talks about here at the panel for the Star Wars Comic-Con panel, is that is one of the things they really focused on, was creating these scenes, creating the scenery, creating these creatures, creating these actual beings being on screen in real time with the actors as much as they possibly could, because they couldn't exactly go 100% no CGI. At this point, there's no way. There's so many battles, there's so many spaceships and so many different things they have to incorporate, flying and lightsaber duels and all that kind of stuff. There has to be a line, and what I really respect about J.J. Abrams is that he really went as much animatronics and as much real in scene with those actors and all that in real time, an actual thing that's created. And they built sets, they built animatronics, they built creatures. It's really just a fantastic thing. And we actually got to see the BB-8 droid back at Star Wars Celebration. We got to see a new animatronic. We actually got to see this creature in a very early release video back when they were filming a Star Wars Episode 7. J.J. Abrams with this creature, that kind of like elongated creature with a huge rack of other creatures on its back or whatever. It's very, very odd to kind of describe without just saying, here's a picture. It's just very easy to see that. But this thing looks very, very, just a lot of stuff had to go into it, and they brought it out on stage, and it walked in front of the panelists, and then it walked back, and then it left, and it just to watch it, and they even said this creature, which was pretty massive, and it's very, very authentic, and it looks real. If you didn't, if it's not connecting in your head, you're thinking, oh, that's a real creature. They said it's being run by 5 different people. That one creature, and they said there's hundreds of animatronics going on. There's hundreds of creatures they've built for this movie. So it is just mind-blowing that they put so much dedication and so much work into this that I cannot wait to honestly see this movie, to see how authentic and how real and how how much care and love they put into this movie, and to remind us of what the original trilogy is. So sorry I spent a lot of time on that section, but really that was a big point that I really got from them talking about this movie before they brought up the cast and all that kind of stuff, because it shows it's not just them sitting back and filming a scene with a bunch of green screens and all that kind of stuff going, okay, we're going to add stuff in later. There's a time and place for that. There's a place for CGI. There's a place for doing that kind of stuff. But for Star Wars, yes, you could have went full CGI, but us as fans, we would have noticed it, and it's kind of harder for us to kind of feel that emotion of being there in real time and believing this world, when the prequels, it's very obvious a lot of the times the actors are standing in complete green screens in a room, and there's nothing really authentic unless the other actor is talking to them in a scene or something like that. But anyways, some of the more highlights there. What I really enjoy mostly was that they brought out, of course, they brought out the franchise newcomers, which we're expecting to be main characters in this film, and possibly 8 and 9. John Boyega, Daisy Ridley, and Oscar Isaac. I almost said Adam Driver because the way it's listed here, but Oscar Isaac and Daisy Ridley and John Boyega. I really am really curious about their characters. We know their names, we kind of have an idea of what their role is in the movies, but we still don't know particular parts, if they're related to the original cast. I'm just really curious to see what these three characters, like what they're going to bring to this franchise, because realistically, from what we understand, unless there's movies that are going to come out that kind of tell stories in between 6 and 7, nothing's really been happening to the point of something major to where, it's bringing back certain things. Like at this point now, 30 plus years later, after the events of Episode 6, where Luke kills Darth Vader essentially and watches his dad die, now something is bringing the Force Awakens. Something is doing that. And to kind of hear them talk about their characters and kind of, their experiences on set, it's really awesome to hear kind of them describe that this is really just authentic. And that's a word that kept coming up, and the word I kept hearing in my head is because they really felt like they were in the world of Star Wars, because everything, the explosions that are happening are real, the sets they're on are real. It just felt very real to them, and that's really awesome. There's one particular thing in the behind the scenes video, which I'll get to a little bit in a little bit, is what I really want to mention about the authenticity is that Daisy Ridley is actually in a machine where obviously the CGI is going to go on it, and it's going to be like a type of battleship, essentially, where she's in the front of it and she's shooting around, all that kind of stuff. We're not exactly sure what ship she's in, but they built like a freaking a moving vehicle, essentially, where she's sitting in the seat and the controller is actually moving it around, and she's pretending to fire, essentially. So there's some authenticity where she's actually sitting in a vehicle that was created for when it's being moved around, and she's having to act it out as shooting and all that kind of stuff. So she's actually there. It's just the rest of the ship is actually CGI'd into what we think is going to be space. So that was one particular thing that really stood out to me within that video. So let's get to the actual video itself. So we kind of knew that there wasn't going to be a trailer. There were some rumors and speculations we would get a trailer. We did not. However, we got a very awesome behind-the-scenes video that is just amazing. And that's the word that hopefully I won't repeat to death in this section when we're talking about the video. But it was just mind-blowing to watch this thing, because it wasn't just a bunch of random behind-the-scenes stuff or of random people saying stuff. They actually showed legitimate and some awesome stuff. They showed, of course, a lot of the animatronics and actually, creating these suits and creating these creatures on screen, and there's no CGI, and they're going for that authentic look for that. Obviously, but then there were some awesome shots of Chewbacca. There were some awesome shots of the Millennium Falcon, and then actually you're seeing behind the scenes of them actually filming a scene where I believe Oscar Isaac is being led by a stormtrooper in one particular shot, and then there's one particular shot where Daisy Ridley, and I'm pretty sure John Boyega, I'm not sure, is walking out, and then all of a sudden an explosion happens, a real explosion. I'm like, whoa, it surprised me. And there's really awesome at the beginning of it, they were showing some actual concept art a little bit of kind of what in their mind, how we want this to look and how we want this to kind of come off, and they actually showed what it looks like in a shot, and then what it looks like as basically a drawing or something, to where it's like, this is what our idea is, and they're kind of relaying it back and forth. So That was really interesting. One of the biggest things to really take away is to hear the different actors that they really got to kind of talk a little bit behind the scenes while this video was playing. Actors and some people who actually worked on the movie to create basically what the world we're going to be seeing in this movie, and to hear them all express very positive things. And obviously, well, they're not going to put anything negative, but it's just really cool to see that they're being authentic and being positive, that this is magic, this is something special. I mean, I was just, my mind was just like going 1,000 miles per hour, just going like, man, I want this movie now. I want the Star Wars The Force Awakens. I want it now. But honestly, I just personally cannot wait. And what really blew my mind is that, well, there was some leaked pictures of what Princess Leia is going to look like in this movie, and we got to see our first official look of Princess Leia in this behind the scenes, and you see her for a couple seconds, and she's talking to J.J. Abrams in another little section, and that was really it. Then we get to see Harrison Ford as Han Solo, and then he gets to sit down in what we assume is the Millennium Falcon, and then it ends. But it was just really awesome to watch this and to basically see, this behind the scenes video thing, because I said in my reaction, and I'll repeat it here, it was better than nothing. And someone actually mentioned in a comment where basically he was kind of against what I said, saying, are you serious? This is better than nothing? This is the best thing they've ever released for this movie. My whole thing is this, I love behind the scenes stuff if I'm really interested in the franchise and all that kind of stuff, and I loved this video. I really did. It was mind-blowing. You watch my reaction. I honestly felt this was just something great to watch as a Star Wars fan, because I'm telling you, I bet all the Star Wars fans watching that as it was showing on screen at Comic-Con was just like their minds were exploding, because it's just something awesome to see that there's so much work and time they've built to make this movie feel like Star Wars, and it's just beautiful, honestly. One of my friends actually said he cried watching the video, so I guess that's something there. The emotion is definitely there for this. But I want to say is that, for me, I would have personally liked to see another trailer, maybe just another teaser, but honestly, what I want to see, and we haven't seen it yet, and that's okay, because it's going to be the shot of the whole entire movie, is Luke Skywalker with the beard. We've seen Mark Hamill with beard. We get that. It's awesome. He looks cool. But when we see Luke Skywalker with a beard, that is the shot. It is Luke, and he has a beard, and he's like Obi-Wan now. So that's the shot I'm really waiting to see. But, for me, beautiful video, great panel. They had some great people on. We got to hear a little bit more about some of the villains, of course. We got to hear a little bit more about from Donald Gleason, Gwendolyn Christie, and Adam Driver. We get to hear a little bit more about their characters. Kylo Ren, Captain Plasma, and I can't remember the general or lieutenant that is being played by Donald Gleason, but I believe that's how you say his name. Yes, Donald Gleason. But I'm really excited to hear more about these characters in upcoming, like I think D23 Disney Expo. They're going to be having another panel there, I believe. So I don't know when that panel is, but they might have a trailer there, or they might have something more. So I'm really excited to see what happens there. But overall, this panel was really awesome. It's about an hour long. Harrison Ford shows up, which is probably one of the best things ever. The original cast, of course, the trinity of the trinity of DC. We'll talk about in a minute, but the trinity of Star Wars: Harrison Ford, Mark Hamill, and Carrie Fisher. I mean, those are the last three brought out. But it was really awesome. Before I actually get to the next topic, I actually remembered this. One thing I did want to mention is that hearing Mark Hamill and hearing Carrie Fisher and hearing Harrison Ford all praise JJ and praise the writing and praise the story and praise basically what they experienced filming this movie was just perfect for me, because you could tell that you're doing Star Wars 4, 5, and 6, you can tell that they loved it, but, they didn't know what it would become. They didn't know that it would become a worldwide phenomena until, it is. It literally has consumed the world. Like, they'll forever be those characters. And for them to come back, so much time has passed, and they're coming back and returning, that's something special. And, even and especially Harrison Ford, out of the three, especially hearing Harrison Ford coming to Comic-Con for the second time ever for this movie is something worthwhile. The first time he came to Comic-Con was for Cowboys and Aliens, but I mean, I didn't think it was the worst movie in the world, but I mean, come on. But the fact that he came to Comic-Con after the whole plane crash, which happened a little bit ago, but he could have obviously skipped this Comic-Con, and it still would have been successful. But for him to show up and him to be the last person to come out as a big surprise, and then him to praise and love and talk about this movie, talk about JJ, talk about the writing, talk about everything, just it made it worthwhile for me. So that is my discussion about the Star Wars Force Awakens panel. Awesome. Can't wait to see more. Let's get into the second topic. Let me take a sip of the drink, and then we'll get to the second panel, which I bet a lot of people are here for. Okay, so Warner Brothers DC had a panel, and a little bit of backstory real quick before I get into it. This is how important this was to me, honestly. This is how important the DC panel was for me, is because I am currently working on my house, and we usually work on Saturdays, and it is, of course, Saturday, and I decided that I was going to get up earlier than usual. I was not going to sleep in. Been working all week. I work full time. I was going to wake up bright and early, get over there, work on that house, get done what we planned on getting done before this trailer, before the panel even starts, because I was waiting for the trailer. I was waiting for the news about Batman v Superman, Suicide Squad, all that kind of stuff. So I did that. I decided to do that because I was that excited to see what they were going to officially announce and officially reveal for the DC films at the Warner Brothers panel. So let's get into it, actually, guys. I know I wasted a little bit of time. They were probably like, who gives a crap about you, dude? Just get to the damn panel. So here we go. So first I'm going to get to Suicide Squad, because that actually showed up first out of nowhere. What was really cool, and kind of, the trailer was launched, and there's some leaked out there. There's a leaked version. A couple different versions are apparently leaked out, unfortunately, and DC did not release the trailer they made for Comic-Con, which is fine, because realistically the film does not come out for over a year and a month, to be exact. It comes out August of 2016, so it kind of makes sense, because usually they don't release a trailer a year and a month in advance, except for Star Wars. But for Suicide Squad, I'm expecting a trailer maybe in November, December. It's just way too early for them. Now, if they would have released the Suicide Squad trailer they showed off in the leak, which I personally watched, I'm not going to post it anywhere. It's a leak. It is what it is. But I did watch it, and I thought it was amazing. But it is what it is. So, and the cast came out, and this reminds me of the 2014 Comic-Con when the Trinity, Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman walked on stage in 2014 San Diego Comic-Con and didn't say anything. Except this, Will Smith kind of said some lines, and the cast that was there for Suicide Squad, but they didn't take a Q&A, they didn't do a panel, they didn't, they just spent a couple minutes showing off the trailer and talking a little bit and saying, we'll see you next year! And I'm assuming they'll probably have a big panel next year for it, because Comic-Con is in July and the movie comes out in August, so we'll have a panel officially for Suicide Squad hopefully next year. But anyways, the leaked trailer was kind of cool and all, and it was hearing Joker's voice for the first time was kind of eerie, but I'm really interested to hear it in HD and all that good stuff, and hear the actual good quality of his voice. So let's get to the Batman v Superman part of the panel, which is the big thing. So the entire cast came out except for a couple of missed people. We didn't get to see Aquaman. We didn't get to see Cyborg. They didn't show up. But we did get to see, of course, the Trinity. We got to see Jeremy Irons as Alfred, Holly Hunter as a senator, Jesse Eisenberg as Lex Luthor, of course. Amy Adams, I believe her name is, as Lois Lane. And they had them out there, and they were talking about all the different stuff about their characters and all that kind of stuff, and they were talking about, the kind of direction they wanted to take their characters. Hearing Gal Gadot talk about Wonder Woman was pretty nice. It was basically her retelling what she told Entertainment Weekly about by playing as Wonder Woman and all that kind of stuff, which I think for her, I believe she's probably trying to hold back a little bit, because we don't know how much of a role Wonder Woman has in this movie, and she kind of knows a lot of people are still against her for being Wonder Woman. Well, maybe after today's trailer, maybe some minds will change towards, we want Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman forever, but who knows. But and then hearing Zack Snyder talk about different stuff, and Zack Snyder has said no Doomsday. Zack Snyder has said Lex Luthor has kryptonite, which was shown in the trailer. But to hear Zack Snyder talk about this movie and how the story came up and they created this story, and to hear all this stuff about all the time and effort they put into creating this and basically expanding it out, because Man of Steel is on its own. Man of Steel is a part of the universe, yes, of DC Cinematic Universe, but Man of Steel, it's just him. It's just Superman, and they've expanded. Because literally, it's not a sequel to Man of Steel, but it's a continuation of the story of the cinematic universe. And to see that they're adding in Batman, Wonder Woman, and Cyborg and Aquaman and possibly more. We don't know for sure. They're really expanding out a lot on this, so I'm very excited. So let's get to the actual trailer itself. The one big thing before we get into the trailer, which is it's about the trailer, but I said it in the reaction and I'll say it here again. The fact that they gave us the public the entirety of the Comic-Con trailer. The rumor was there was 4 minutes of footage, and they were going to release publicly 2 minutes of the footage. So then I heard from the live blog I was watching, or it wasn't, well, there's nothing to watch. It was just reading text and then them posting, tweets, pictures of tweets and stuff about the panel and all that kind of stuff that they talked about. The trailer is 3 minutes and 30 something seconds, okay? And then that's the Comic-Con trailer, and the trailer that will be released publicly is 2 minutes and 20 something seconds. I'm like, well, it's still something. Then I refreshed the Warner Brothers page as soon as the panel was done, and 30 seconds ago, the entire Comic-Con trailer. I'm like, DC, you amazing little man. You amazing person. You amazing company. Thank you so much for that. This trailer has so much to talk about. I want to talk about the main points about it, the things that really stood out to a lot of people. So, number one, Lex Luthor has the hair. Obviously, this is in real time. That was a thing everybody was thinking when they saw the picture of Lex Luthor with hair, that this is a flashback. He's bald in the movie. Well, we haven't seen him bald in the movie yet. Lots of rumors and speculation. He will become bald in this movie, but he has hair, so there's that. Holly Hunter's character talked a lot about that he needs to answer for his actions and that he is responsible for what happened in Metropolis when he fought Zod. So that is one really interesting point. So they're basically going to make him responsible for what he did to all those people and what he basically destroyed in Metropolis, essentially. One big key thing early on in the trailer, and we saw this picture of Ben Affleck before, is him in like a dress blue shirt, essentially. He's kind of dressed up. He has no tux on, but he has like an underdress shirt on. It's blue and all that. And he's running, and then all of a sudden he is watching the Zod fight happen. We assume that he is watching the fight that is happening between Superman and Zod. We assume it's in the daytime. I believe the fight between him and Zod happened later in the evening of Man of Steel, but I could be wrong. But we assume, but there is a building falling, and we see there's some fighting going on, and then Bruce Wayne saves a little girl, and he watches one of his buildings fall to the ground because of the Superman and Zod fight. So that is one big key thing. And then we get to see our first look at Alfred, which is really awesome. Jeremy Irons. I think that was a very cool shot to kind of see him. He's reiterating the line, that he did. That's how it starts. The fever, the rage, the powerlessness, what turns good men cruel. I think that's the line. I probably messed up a little bit in the line. But when he says the word cruel at the end, you get to see Alfred for the first time. So that was really cool to see him. This Alfred looks a little bit different, obviously, from Michael Caine, and he actually said that in the panel. Jeremy Irons said that in the panel, his version of Alfred is a little bit different, so that's really cool to see that they're doing some differences. Obviously, they really should, but it's cool that he acknowledged that Michael Caine did a great job as Alfred, and even Superman himself, Henry Cavill, gave praise to Christopher Reeve, for his portrayal of Superman there, so that's really, really cool. And we also get to see the Batmobile and some more action. We get to see Batman in action, and then him looking towards what we believe and everyone's assumed it is. It's a Robin suit with a message from the Joker, and the joke's on you. I think that's what it says, and it was just like, what? Robin was in the universe. Everyone's saying, well, Robin is in the universe. You mean Robin was in the universe? Why would Batman, Bruce Wayne, have the Robin outfit hanging in the Batcave? We assume it's in the Batcave with spray paint from the Joker, but he's still alive. Why would he do that? I think it's a reminder that he needs to stay away from this stuff. I think it's a reminder that he needs to retire. He needs to stay away and not be Batman. He needs to be Bruce Wayne, not Batman. One particular thing a couple people are having issues with in the trailer is that they showed a little bit of his parents getting killed, and we're seeing another death scene of his parents. But that is one major thing I have to say to the people that are against that one part of the trailer. It's only like 3 or 4 or 5 seconds where we see, his dad getting shot, and we assume his parents are, that's the scene that is going to be that. It's going to be a flashback. It's going to happen. It's a real critical scene, no matter how many times we have to see it. And a lot of people complain, it's the same thing as, sorry to compare here, that the Marvel situation with Spider-Man and Uncle Ben dying so many different times. They've done the origins so many times. It's the same thing here. It is critical to the character. Batman witnessed this as a child. Bruce Wayne witnessed this as a child, and it has turned him, it has made him become the Batman. So it doesn't matter if 20 years down the road they reboot the Batman franchise, they reboot Batman, they have a new Batman and all that kind of stuff. Guess what? We're going to see a scene of his parents dying. You know why? Because it is critical to the character. And since this is our first introduction into Batman in this universe, we have to see that scene again. We just have to. It's critical. They might do it a little bit differently, but all in all, we know the end result is going to be his parents die. So it's going to be, it is what it is. So that was really, I believed, a really cool shot. Seeing Wonder Woman, Gal Gadot, for the very first time was a huge highlight for this trailer. We get to see her twice as Wonder Woman. We see her obviously not as Wonder Woman, her persona, essentially her, because we all know these superheroes, their personas are not the people they pretend to be. Their personas are their characters, essentially. What I'm trying to say is this. Clark Kent is not Superman's persona. Superman's persona is Superman. Bruce Wayne is Batman. Batman is his persona. And when, Diane, Wonder Woman, is down, that's just her playing a character, because we all know she's really Wonder Woman deep inside. That's what I was trying to refer to. So we see Gal Gadot in a couple shots as being Diane and not being Wonder Woman, and then she becomes Wonder Woman twice in the movie, and it's really awesome to see her actually in the trailer, because the first trailer, no indication, nothing, no teasing, just straight to the point, Batman, Superman, and all that kind of stuff. This trailer is just far superior. It really is. And not because it's 3.5 minutes long, because it gives you depth and character. And it shows Superman as Clark Kent, Batman, Bruce Wayne, Wonder Woman, Diane. So it's really awesome to see that. We get to see Superman's, Earth Mother essentially talking to him. We get to see Lois Lane, of course, talking to Superman and all that kind of stuff. So it's really going to be a powerful, dramatic film, I believe. Watching this trailer has so many awesome things. Kryptonite is confirmed. That's one big thing that Lex Luthor has. What he's going to do with it, there's a lot of speculation. He's going to give it to Bruce Wayne to fight Superman. Who knows if Bruce Wayne's going to go for it. But I just can't wait for this movie. I honestly can't wait. This trailer, I think, is giving us a lot more than what we're really seeing on screen. This film, of course, will be action-packed. This film, of course, will be, character-driven. But this film, honestly, will be dramatic. And everyone will say, well, Man of Steel was dramatic. Of course, this is a whole different level in my personal opinion. And here's why. Number one, it's not just Superman in the movie. Of course, we had Zod and Man of Steel. We had the Kryptonians. We get it. But it was Superman's story. It was his development to become Superman. It was for him to become something greater, something more. In this movie, he has become something more. And that is very bad for the world. Half the world, what we assume, sees him as an enemy, a devil, as Lex Luthor has said. Devils don't come from beneath us, they come from the sky. And that's Superman. Superman is the devil to most people. Some people see him as a god. They reference both sides of the coin. He is a devil to some, a god to others. So once he has become what he was what his destiny was, ultimately affects the world in many different ways. And what this movie is going to really pick at is that it not only affects Superman in the world, it affects other characters of that same caliber. Batman comes out of retirement because of what Superman did to his employees to a building that he owns. And for him, it's not about I need to avenge these people's death. It's about I need to avenge everyone. I need to save the world from this menace, this villain, this creature, this alien. He needs to stop him. And what this proves, and what many other incarnations of Batman live action animated comic book has all stated, Batman will not stop until he succeeds. He is the smartest man in the world, and he will do whatever it takes to stop what he deems is a threat, what he deems as something that cannot continue in the same way it is. So for him, it's something more than just avenging a couple of people in a building. It's more than just avenging a building of his that fell down. He is avenging himself, he is avenging the world, and he is going to stop Superman whatever it costs. So with that in mind and what they're implying, Bruce Wayne might get the kryptonite from Lex Luthor. Now, obviously he won't kill Superman, but he will figure out a way to stop him from continuing his reign upon the world as he sees it. Now, Wonder Woman's involvement, there's a big fight scene in the middle of the trailer, kind of close to the end, actually, and Wonder Woman is involved from what we understand. So either Wonder Woman is trying to stop Batman and Superman from fighting, or whether Superman and Wonder Woman and Batman are all fighting each other. That's going to be an interesting angle, too, because if that's the case, then Wonder Woman doesn't have a side if that's the case. Now, there's been a picture online, of course, of Diane and Bruce Wayne dressed up at a party, and apparently at this point they do know each other. You know, Bruce Wayne knows Diane is Wonder Woman, and Diane knows that Bruce Wayne is Batman. So my theory, honestly, if you'd ask me right now without seeing the movie, just seeing the trailer and seeing the fact that Wonder Woman is possibly involved in the Batman and Superman fight that's going down in the trailer, do I think Wonder Woman is fighting? I would say it's kind of 50-50. I think if Wonder Woman was fighting both of them at the same time while they were fighting each other, so it's a 3v3, like a three fight situation where they're, Batman and Superman are fighting, Batman, Wonder Woman and Superman are all fighting each other. They're just, brawling. All three of them are fighting each other. It's going to be a very interesting fight to watch because Batman is obviously, first of all, outnumbered in strength, but obviously he can't stand up against two gods essentially. But we'll just have to see how they handle it. But for me personally, the other half is that if it's not a fight, I think Wonder Woman will be trying to prevent them from fighting, because I think even Alfred says that he's not our enemy, but about Superman. But we'll just have to see how it goes. I think the trailer was phenomenal, fantastic, all those words. And I honestly can't wait to see more. I think that this trailer just gives us a really good insight into what this movie is going to be all about. So I honestly can't wait to see more. Thank you guys for listening to the podcast. That is the end of the Batman v Superman Suicide Squad panel discussion. Thank you guys once again for listening to the podcast. What are your thoughts about the Star Wars and the Batman v Superman panel? Let me know in the comment section below. Thank you guys for listening. Peace out.